Norway was probably the most beautiful country that we've ever been to. Definitely made some mistakes along the way. So here are 7 things that we wish we knew before going to Norway.
First mistake we made in Norway was not checking the weather before we went on a hike. Now this might seem like an obvious thing to do, but we really underestimated just how quickly the weather can change in Norway. You can be standing in perfect bright sunshine 1 second, and then the next you can barely see 10 feet in front of you because of the fog.
And like she said, that happened to us. We got caught on a mountain when bad weather rolled in because we didn't check, and it kind of put us in a dangerous situation. So definitely be mindful to check the weather ahead of time. Mistake number 2 was not bringing basic cold medicine. We didn't bring any, and I actually ended up getting sick, which is not a position when you want to be in, especially since Norway only sells single ingredient medications, and a lot of them are herbal. So I found them to be a lot less effective than just what we have here in the States.
Yeah, it's also good to keep in mind that pharmacies are closed on Sundays. So if you get sick on a Sunday, just tough luck for you.
Yeah, and she actually read on Reddit where a Norwegian was saying, what do you do when you get sick? And they were just like, just go to sleep and
wait for it to
try
end.
to wake up, you know? So anyway, just be mindful of that when you're packing ahead of time to bring some medicine.
So the third mistake on our list, which is a mistake we didn't make, but we almost did, is choosing the wrong rental car. When you go and start looking at all of the rental cars that are available in Norway, you're gonna see a lot of electric cars, and you're going to immediately notice that the electric cars are like half the price from any car that uses gas. And so we really were incentivized to get the electric because of that. But as we started looking into it, we realized that it was maybe just not logistically practical. And the reason for that is that there are a lot of hotels that do have charging stations on site that you can use where you could charge overnight, and that would be super easy, but not all of them have that. And most Airbnbs are not going to have that.
Yeah, and you do have the option to do the supercharge, but that still takes 30 minutes and it's not always available. And so in our opinion, it was totally worth it to just go ahead and get the hybrid, quick fill up. And since it is a hybrid, you know, you don't have an enormous cost associated with renting just a gas car there. Again, we recommend that you just, if you're going to do a lot of driving, just get the gas car. So mistake number 4 is underestimating travel times. So we didn't run into a ton of traffic except for in Oslo. I will say Oslo was a little bit rough and it did make us miss a dinner cruise, but a large part of it is the fjords don't have bridges going across, and so you have to drive all the way around, which takes up a great deal of time.
You do have the option on some of those fjords to take a ferry across where you can drive your car onto it, but not every fjord has those, and they're not always going to be more convenient. So another thing to keep in mind when you're considering travel times when planning a trip to Norway is that the country is deceptively big. So you're not going to be able to see everything, do everything, unless you want to spend your entire trip in the car. So I would definitely recommend picking one region of the country and sticking to it. So we focused most of our trip in the southern part of the country and didn't go all the way over to the west coast. Our original itinerary, we were going to start in Oslo and make our way all the way over to where Pulpit Rock is, and we ended up deciding that that was just going to be too much driving, too much time, and we really wanted to be able to enjoy our trip and actually see everything we wanted to see.
Yeah, so just be mindful whenever you're planning to not underestimate the travel times that it might take. Okay, so mistake number 5 is not planning food and or alcoholic beverages ahead of time. So to start off with the food, it stays daylight very late in Norway, and sometimes you just kind of get caught up in the beauty of it. And so, you know, you could be getting down off a hike at like 8-9 p.m. But then, as we just discussed, things are very spread out and they close fairly early, and there's no other options. Even supermarkets to get food can be hard. And so you'll have to drive maybe an hour or even an hour and a half in some cases. And so by the time you get there, if you're not paying attention, everything might be closed.
Yeah, and you really have to plan ahead if you want to have any alcohol at all. So they have a lot of strict rules and guidelines surrounding alcohol in Norway. It's a monopoly, so there is one liquor store that owns all of the liquor stores in the entire country. It's highly regulated. So beer and any alcohol below 4.7% quits being sold around 8 p.m. on weekdays and 6 p.m. on Saturdays, and no alcohol is sold anywhere on Sundays.
So for any alcohol that's 4.7 8 and above, they sell that from 5 to 6, depending on the weekday, and then 3 to 4 on Saturday.
So you really just need to be sure to plan ahead for any alcohol and any food. Mistake number 6 is not researching hikes enough. So there's definitely fairly limited information online about specific hikes in Norway, especially some of the lesser known ones. So you really need to dig in and be sure that you feel like you can complete each hike that you want to do. So we ran into this problem when we attempted a hike called Bessigen, which is world famous and absolutely beautiful, but it is not a very easy hike, and there are very limited videos and information about this hike. So we bit off a little bit more than we could chew with that hike. So just be sure that you really thoroughly research any hike you want to do and make sure that you feel really comfortable and confident about the logistics of completing that hike.
Okay, so mistake number 7 is booking Airbnbs over hotels. I don't know if this was just a unique experience to us, but we didn't have a great experience with Airbnbs. Not terrible, but they're a little bit harder to find. The amenities were a little bit more expensive as well. We found that we had a lot better value at the hotels. They weren't crazy expensive, but the cost was about the same. And the amenities at the hotels were much cheaper if you had to pay for them at all.
So for example, at one of the Airbnbs we booked, we ended up having to pay around $75 just to use the hot tub that we were under the impression came with our booking. Whereas at hotels, this was either free anytime we wanted to use it, or there was a small reservation fee you had to pay around $5 to $10, which just kind of got you your private spot to where you didn't have other people sitting in the hot tub with you.
Yeah, which I actually really enjoyed that. I thought that was really cool. And hotels also had saunas right on the fjord where you could get really hot and then jump in, and we really enjoyed that experience. And so first of all, they had it. Not many Airbnbs had that as an amenity in the first place. And second of all, it was like $10 or $20 for an hour or so. And obviously, it's a lot easier to find hotels, as well as, you know, they had great breakfast. The breakfast there was amazing. Every hotel that we stayed at had an amazing breakfast. We really enjoyed that. So definitely, like, if you have the option, go with hotels.
So those are the 7 things that we really wish we knew before we planned our trip to Norway.
Yeah, and if you found this video helpful and are planning a trip to Norway or thinking about planning a trip to Norway, check out this video here where we'll go over our itinerary as well as the cost and some specific recommendations for maybe some restaurants and hotels.